Okay, this was me, 17 years old, thinking I was goth, wearing a light blue jean skirt, meeting Trent Reznor. Today I'm taking you on a journey through my most cringy, some of my most iconic, and basically the development of my goth looks when I used to go to clubs, which were in the late 90s, early 2000s. So that's the aesthetic we're going for today. If that sounds like something you're interested in, stay tuned and judge some of these outfits with me and watch me grow. As I've been creating my own goth brand with my husband, I've been looking back at a lot of my looks when I was younger, and boy have I found some amazing pictures. And I see the progression of when I first was like 17, 16, just getting into goth, but never really having been around too many people that were, because I was living in Oklahoma for a while. If you've ever cut holes in some crazy fishnets to make a shirt, or danced all night in vinyl until you were covered in sweat, you know what I'm talking about. Subscribe because these videos are for you. Okay, number one. What am I wearing? I had just moved to San Francisco from Oklahoma, where I lived for a few years in high school, and I was developing my goth style. This jean skirt, I don't know, I'm trying to remember what possessed me to wear it. I thought it had like some big old metal belt on it or something that maybe I thought looked a little gother. And then I have this like velvet sort of like bum's business jacket going on over it. I don't know what the look was, but that was the best I did. And my friend was way cooler than me, and I was a little embarrassed at my outfit. But to be honest, I had a great night that night getting to meet Trent Reznor. Of course, being 17, I couldn't go to a goth club yet. So my friends and I found things to do, like going to the, of course, Rocky Horror Picture Show. This picture is from those times. See, I've upped my game a little bit. I'm wearing black tights with some maroon suede shorts. I don't know. I'm working on it. Hair, of course, still brown. My parents were very conservative about my hair color when I was young. So even though I was dying to have my own identity, for some reason it was a little difficult for me to break out of the brown. Maybe it was also because part of me didn't want to just go the traditional black mainstream goth color. I wanted to be different. But now I realize, like, as time moved on, that brown wasn't being different. I finally turned 18 and was going to the clubs. This was in the late 90s, and thrifting was everything. Hot Topic was coming around, but it still wasn't a legit place to buy your clothes. You know, if you were dressing goth, you weren't buying anything new, at least in the area I was raised in. We would always go to thrift stores, go through every black dress there was, and anything that might fit well, we would work it into some sort of outfit. You can tell my hair is starting to get a little red here, but at least I styled it a little bit to make it a little cooler. So let's talk about some 90s statement pieces. The Asian smoking jacket. Everyone had one, male, female. You were rocking one at one point to a club. They come in blue and green, and you could find all kinds of colors. This one was mine. Thrifted, everything thrifted. And this was definitely a staple in the late 90s for going to goth clubs in San Francisco. Boas. I loved feather boas, but oh my God. Can we talk about what happens when you're dancing and you get sweaty and you've got this boa on and the feathers start sticking to your skin, and it's just disgusting. But it was also something I would put up with back in the day because boas, boas, boas. Also big in the 90s, kinder horror. I can't say enough about how I loved this style. It often involved wearing a lingerie as a dress. Hello, and kind of like mixing baby doll with slut. So I was a big fan of that look, and I've had these thrifted lingerie that I would wear, and I was very proud when I finally started discovering this. I was like, I'm on to something now. I'm gonna figure this out. Non-black outfits. It was really starting to be a thing in the 90s to kind of wear something a little more extravagant, a little, silver became a thing. And I was definitely a fan of standing out in the crowd. So pink, white. I loved wearing the white boa with this pink little lingerie dress that I had bought. I had white go-go boots on because it was the 90s. And I was such a fan of these looks. I even had this pink vinyl jacket that I would wear as a dress, and oh my gosh, can you imagine? You cannot even imagine how sweaty I was under that thing. And of course, the standard vinyl mini skirt. We all had one. We all wore it. We wore it with a fishnet top. We wore it with a baby doll tee. It was a staple. The LA club years when I moved from San Francisco to LA. Innocence lost. It was all about dressing as slutty as I could. Fishnets as top, vinyl everything. So red fishnets, that was the thing to make into a top. How many different color fishnets have you turned into a top? Because I think it's important to go through the range of colors, add a little variety, you know, maybe forest green. Hello, that's kind of pretty. And of course, this is hilarious. My slip dress that was my Kinderhor look in San Francisco has now been upgraded or cut really short. So short I could barely even manage to wear it. But hey, it was LA and it was all about showing as much skin as possible. As I start looking through these pictures, I see a lot of my identity as I've changed, as I've grown. I think I also had a little bit of an identity issue when I was younger, like really trying to figure out who I was. I was excited to experiment with all kinds of looks, and I still to this day love those looks from the 90s, and I have a few of my old dresses around still, amazingly enough. That era of DIY clothing and just kind of figuring out who I was and designing my whole goth aesthetic really ties back into our Bones and Black clothing brand that we have started. It's been so awesome to get older and be able to embrace what I embraced when I was younger. It's like holding hands with your younger self, and that's kind of what this brand is about. And I know there's a lot of people out there who did not outgrow it. It was not a phase. It is a lifestyle, and it has a lot to do with music as well, which, being musicians and artists, that is the backbone of, well, my clothing company, Bones and Black, and of just the whole goth community. Okay, what look was your favorite? What look was the most cringe? Drop in the comments. I need to know what you thought. And let me know if you'd like to see more, because I found so many photos, so many outfits. If you're into this kind of nostalgic deep dive, this is the channel for you. I'm gonna be posting all kinds of videos about culture, music, fashion, anything that kind of especially ties back to the late 90s and early 2000s. So subscribe, because this is just the beginning. Thanks for watching.